But police is very, very corrupt. They are ineffective. They connive. And therefore, people now have to resort to their own personal protection. Yep. I'm looking at a partial demobilization of our police. Police that are corrupt, and they need to be overhauled. You know, they need to be overhauled. So if we can reform our, have a new police force that is efficient, not in terms of manpower, but quality of personnel. Can't be talking of security when you not make sure that everybody that comes into Nigeria is traceable. You want to know what that person is doing. Is he employed? Is he unemployed? If he's employed, where is he working? You know, we must know the sources of income of everybody. Anybody who has more than so amount in the bank, you find out how that money came about. I mean, we have a police force that are hungry on the highway. They pick up 5 naira, 2 naira, 10 naira, and you expect them to divulge information on critical issues. Somebody who can collect just 5 naira, you know, all he wants is just to get some pittance from you. We must have guerrilla formations. Who will penetrate Boko Haram hideouts and destroy them internally? You know, that's how it's done. You know, if you trade their lines, if you trade their command headquarters, using our smart girls and whatever you have, you know, neutralize them from within. Find out the source of funding. Make sure you block it. And, you know, these are the things that must be done. Make sure you deny them comfort of whatever they are saying. The water in the area should be poisoned. Everything should be made uncomfortable for them. That is how you fight guerrillas. Not by going to buy expensive fighting aircraft and be dropping bombs on people. How? They are not uniformed. They are not dogging. How do you know where they are? So, it beats me. Are we still the Nigerian army I used to know?
It's another very beautiful, lovely, unique moment in the city of Abuja, Federal Capital Territory of Nigeria, West Africa, as we meet a man of impeccable achievements, a man of distinctive achievements, an elder statesman in his own right, and a man who is a patriot and a nationalist par excellence, a former Minister of Science and Technology, Federal Republic of Nigeria, the first Director-General of the National War College, Abuja, and a man who have served in various capacities in the military service and in the political sphere of the great country, Nigeria. We are privileged to meet him today after several weeks, several months of trying to pin him down, especially to relate to us and enlighten us about several national and international issues. He is a doctor, a general, and an elder statesman, General Sam Momah, two-time Minister, Federal Republic of Nigeria, of the Science and Technology Ministry. We are very privileged to be in his ambience today, sir. We are very grateful for this opportunity to meet you in your apartment in Abuja. First and foremost, we want to ask you that how do you feel? Because we are going around to ask some elder statesmen that how do they feel in this time and in this climate, especially as relates to our national identity, Nigeria, and to the international relation itself. How do you feel, General Momah?
Yeah, it's a pleasure having you once again. It's always a thing of joy to see you and be able to pass on some of our thoughts and feelings to the masses. Nobody feels happy with the present state of affairs in the country because Nigeria has come a long way. Each time we keep hoping that there will be a turnaround, particularly in these last two elections, the one of 2015, that was based on the mantra of change. So everybody believed that there had to be a radical change from the past. The government has been doing its best, but so far Nigerians feel that the best is still not good enough, that we still have a long way to go, because today we are the poverty capital of the world. In terms of global terrorism, we are second to the last in the world. In Human Development Index, which is a normal yardstick for measuring how developed a country is, we are just 160 out of 180 countries. And then even the corruption perception index, which this administration has tried to concentrate on, we were 144 last year, but this year we dropped down to 146, 2 points down out of 180 countries. So you can see that this is why everybody is restive. It seems that the insecurity in the country has eaten deep and is taking a chunk of our time and resources, that the main issue of governance is suffering. And I believe that unless we sort out basic issues, then we'll find that most of the major problems will not be solved. And this is why some of us strongly feel that instead of tackling Nigerian problem piecemeal, we should tackle it from the taproot. There is one particular action we can take, and we can solve all the problems in one go. And that problem and that solution is restructuring of the country.
Sir, coming to restructuring, I remember that you have been an agent of restructuring as far back as year 2005. When I first ran into you, you have been talking about restructuring. Most of your books have either been on economic restructuring or social restructuring and all that. You've always been agitating for restructuring. But right now, you saw what is happening in the Southwest, when recently the Southwest decided to restructure in terms of security. They came out with Operation Amotekun, which is said to be an operation, a security formation to guide their regional integrity from invaders, from hard men and suspected terrorists and all that. So do you think restructuring have started? Because right now, the southeastern governors who are now campaigning for their own security outfits, I think they are now doing something on it right from Enugu. And we also have the northwestern governors right from Katsina also campaigning for their own security restructuring. Did you see this as a restructuring approach?
Yes, definitely. The Amotoko problem has, solution has proved that there is something missing in the country. It shows a loss of confidence in the security apparatus of the country. And it shows that those who have been talking about restructuring are very right. Because if we restructure, police will be one of the first things I believe that should be restructured. Because police and judiciary are the two major arms that can decide the fate of Nigeria. Because if criminals are not properly handled, are not paid in their own coins, they continue to perpetuate criminality. And there's no way we can progress in criminality. So police and judiciary are very crucial. And therefore, when we restructure, these are the two main areas, I believe, platforms that we must make sure that we restructure them adequately. I've always said that any anti-corruption war or fight that does not start with the police is dead on arrival. Because police are the ones that will tell us if we are doing good or bad. Now, if the police itself is rotten, how do you expect the society to be clean? They'll be conniving with the bandits and whatever. So the issue is that we've not started tackling our problems with giving priority. At times we start from the bottom, start from what should be last, we started first. What should be first, we started last. So I believe that restructuring is very, very important. Amoteku had to be because the police, not that they are not coping, but police is very, very corrupt. They are ineffective. They connive. And therefore, people now have to resort to their own personal protection. So, and this is what I've been saying all along. We must restructure this country. We must. Because if the foundation of a country is bad, and you're putting more load on it, there's no way it can survive. So the problem I've always said is the foundation on which Nigeria was built is overburdened. We started with 4 regions, and you went and created 36 states. The foundation is still the same. And you expect that foundation, just like you have the foundation for 4-story building, and you now go and erect 36-story on that same foundation, and you expect it to bear the load. So the foundation is cracking, is giving way, is about to collapse. And unless we restructure the country based on the economy, you find that there's no way we can get out of the problem. People talk of infrastructure, like railway, power, refinery, and so on and so forth. This infrastructure requires money. And therefore, if you have to have the capital funds to tackle this major infrastructure, you need to find a way to restructure. And restructuring does not mean that allocation will never be the same. Does not mean that people will be deprived of their funds. But we must get our priorities right. For instance, I asked, the 774 local government, what are we doing with them? Are they very essential? Are they effective? Are they efficient? Are they adding to the economy? So if these 774 units you have are cesspools for corruption, what are they doing? Of course. So I have a plan whereby we can have, maybe from my book, I'm proposing 18 states, and then have the local government scrapped. Instead of the local government, you have some provinces, maximum of 54 provinces. That provinces will be the present states, an additional state that we created as per 2014 conference that recommended additional, I think it was 18 states. Yes. So those ones, if they are considered and added to 36 states that we have now, you have about 54 states. Those states will not be states, but they will be provinces. The aim of province is that you won't have state house of assembly. They won't have commissioners, director of this, director of that. They won't have aides, they won't have advisors that you have in the states now. It will be surely provincial councils. You know? So you will cut down the paraphernalia of state house of assembly. And that will be a major chunk. And then, of course, when you come to the Senate, what are you doing with 109 senators? Is it mandatory? Can't we reduce it to a fair number? I'm looking at maximum 54. Then the House of Rep, what are you doing with that 360? I have thought we must reduce it to about 108. So by the time you do all these reductions, you find you'll be able to save about 5 trillion naira in governance every year. And that 5 trillion will go into infrastructure. Infrastructure means that there will be power, there will be refinery, so you get your fuel cheap, so transportation will be easy for workers, price of food will come down, and then the cost of living will come down. So these are things that restructuring is going to do. Unfortunately, some people who don't understand the essence of restructuring think that restructuring is simply resource control. That is not the issue.
What's the difference between resource control and restructuring?
Restructuring is purely to restructure Nigeria and remove the unworthy and superfluous manpower. And there are redundant structures, that is ministries and whatever you have that is excess. Local government that is moribund, of no use. Anything that is not producing or not effective. You just like if you go to see a doctor, the first thing will tell you that if you are fat, you say go and lose weight. Before you start taking any drug, it's advised to go and lose weight. So Nigeria will need to lose weight. We have amorphous fats that need to be shed. And that shedding is restructuring. Because when you have excess fats that are not adding to your life, instead they are choking life out of you, you cut them off, you reduce your weight. And so that is what restructuring is going to do. It's not just resource control is out of it. Then apart from the issue of reducing your manpower, yes, restructuring also is in respect of the climate change that we have today in the world. Climate change is something that is not only peculiar to Nigeria, but to the entire world. The world is now thinking of renewable energy. That means that fossil fuel will cease to be used. That is crude oil, gas.
But how did you see it? Because you've been saying this since 10, 20, 15 years ago.
I'm surprised that the government of the day, nobody is saying anything about it, because in 10 years' time, unless something is done, there's no way Nigeria will still be managing what it's doing now at that time. There's no way we can pay salaries. There's no way we can run the country with the present state of affairs, because petroleum will cease to be a valuable asset. Our main source of income will disappear. In 10 years' time, anytime for 2030 upwards, petroleum will cease to be a viable asset. So this is the time we have to start planning. What do we do? What alternative are we going to do? And those alternative I have is we must diversify the economy. We must find a new way of sustaining the economy. Agriculture, IT, other things to do with industrialization, and the rest of it. We must find other ways of sustaining the economy. And then we have solid mineral, which we are not tapping. We have potential, we have manpower, we have the brains who will discover things that will yield money. We have our children who are abroad. If we can get them to send in money, those in diaspora, according to Abika David last time, she said that our children in diaspora are bringing almost $25 billion every year. Which is far more than the $10 billion that oil gets to us. So we can even get more money from our children in diaspora. So there are areas Nigeria can start tapping resources to sustain the economy. And this dependence on oil is dangerous because it's a very valuable and volatile asset. Today the price is $60 per barrel. Tomorrow it come down to 40. Next day 20, and so on and so forth. Depending on global political, action. Yes, So we can't depend indefinitely on oil. There is time now for us to diversify. We've been paying lip service, diversification of the economy. But with this global change, climate change issue, we have no choice than to diversify the economy. And to do that, the governors are very, very crucial. Because the governors have the manpower, they have the land, they have even the resources, their security votes. They have to really build up the economy. The notion people have that, the president must do this is not right.
So are you aware that some of these governors leave power and they put a lot of money in terms of remuneration that they pay them year in, year out? Recently, there was the issue of the governor of Zamfara, the former governor, I forgot his name now, that the new governor said the money was asking for was millions of naira per month, all sort of money that they should pay them after service. And some of them are even ministers, some of them are even senators. They are collecting remuneration in multiple folds. As former governors, they have to change their cars from time to time, give them a new house, build them all sort of assorted materials and all that. What do you see to that? Does it appear to you that democracy is a stumbling block to this economic development we are talking about?
You see, this is what we are talking about, restructuring. Restructuring means that our constitution has to change. We must sit down, and these pitfalls or lapses we've noticed, like governors getting multiple retirement benefits, the constitution will outlaw it. But right now, constitution does not outlaw it. So people are just doing what they like. But if the constitution says no, you can only get one pension. So if you are in the army, you get army pension, and you happen to be a civilian politician and a governor, you don't retire again and get another pension. So the constitution will simplify that. And that is why we are saying that restructuring, well, of course, we need a national conference. I want to call it extraordinary national conference. Some people are scared of sovereign national conference. Let's call it extraordinary national conference. After that conference, there will be a referendum where the masses, the Nigerians, will now say we accept in totality the outcome of so national conference. And once that is done, it's promulgated into law. And that becomes the constitution of Nigeria. It will be a constitution that will now be done by the people of Nigeria, by the people of Nigeria, and for the people of Nigeria. Because what we have now is purely a military contraption of constitution that was made by the last military regime, 1999. It was done in 1979, then 1999 they reviewed the 1979 to 1999. So, but if we now do a constitution that will be approved by the people of Nigeria, we'll sit down and decide how do we want to run Nigeria? How do we want to, all the incompatibilities, how do we manage them? What and what? We have so many problems. These herdsmen, farmers clash, something will be said about it. The state of origin and state of residence, something will be said about it. These are ambivalences we have in our constitution now, which are not well defined. So once we have a constitution that purely defines these things, then of course you find that Nigeria will now have a clean slate to start on. Right now, everything is so amorphous and very, very clumsy. And unless we have this restructuring, and I'm appealing to our president to give this the topmost priority, have a rethink. He has the singular opportunity to restructure Nigeria and lay a solid foundation for the future of this country. And this is the time to do that. In the next 4, 5, 6 years, it will be too late. The war will leave us behind. If you look at indices of development, Nigeria is lagging behind virtually in all of them. Most West African countries, Togo, Ghana, they are beating us now. All of them, Rwanda, they've taken off. Nigeria is now being relegated to the background. And there is no way we can sort out these problems unless we restructure. So I think I want to emphasize on this issue of restructuring that it is the only solution we have now. If we restructure, Amotokun that is raising so much eyebrow may not be necessary, because we would have so refined and reformed our police. I'm looking at a partial demobilization of our police. Police that are corrupt, and they need to be overhauled. You know, they need to be overhauled. So if we can reform our, have a new police force that is efficient, not in terms of manpower, but quality of personnel. Most times we think that police is based on how many police we have per number of Nigerians. No, you can have a single policeman who, with intelligence network, will be able to guard a larger area. You know, we gather his information, know everything about everybody. For instance, we must, if we are serious in Nigeria, we must ensure that every Nigerian has his ID card. How do you want to monitor people's activities when you don't have ID card of individuals? So these are issues that are very, very crucial. We can't be talking of security when you've not made sure that everybody that comes into Nigeria is traceable. You want to know what that person is doing. Is he employed? Is he unemployed? If he's employed, where is he working? You know, we must know the sources of income of everybody. Anybody who has more than so amount in the bank, you find out how that money came about. This is how it's done abroad. If you go to UK now and pay £2,000 to your account, they'll start trailing you. If you withdraw £5,000, they start trailing you, because you may use that to blow up somewhere. You know, so this is all that we need to do, not building up our police force. When I hear people building police force, and when I see them buying vehicles and motorcycles, I feel offended. It shows we don't have it. We're not intelligent. Buying vehicle and motorcycle will not stop insecurity. Those vehicles they buy, give them 6 months, you won't see them on the road again. Because nobody has planned how to maintain those vehicles. They just waste money for nothing. You know, all we need to have is have professional police who are so well paid, so well quartered, so well trained, so well armed, that they're able to defend themselves. They'll be proud because they are well paid. They're able to do they're able to really give their best, you know. And of course, make it a professional police force. I mean, we have a police force that are hungry on the highway. They pick up 5 naira, 2 naira, 10 naira. And you expect them to divulge information on critical issues. Somebody who can collect just 5 naira, you know, all he wants is just to get some pittance from you. So what we are joking, Nigeria, we are just not serious. So I think the president and our leaders must really come to terms with issues of Nigeria. I see a lot of nonsensical approach that don't make sense to me. The problem of Nigeria is very simple. If we can sit down and analyze how best to tackle them, and not a firefighting approach. Something happens in Abuja, you rush there. It happens in Lagos, you go there. Kanu, do it there. No, let's sit down and see how we prevent those crises from taking place. And it's simple, you know. So we must try and rally ourselves, and for a change, show that we are a leader of the black race.
I want to take you to the issue because it's a very important issue now. In the last couple of days, there have been uproar from the Senate, the National Assembly, and from common Nigerians who are asking the president to sack the service chief, that the counter-insurgency strategy has outlived their tenure, and that it's not working, that Boko Haram is still striking, especially regarding the January 20 killing of Mr. Lawan Andimi, the chairman of Khan at Michika in Adamawa State. And there have been a lot of uproar. Even the Christians are going everywhere. Everybody is making noise. And they say, okay, sack the chief of army staff, sack the chief of defense staff, sack the chief of naval staff, sack the chief of air staff, and all that. Are you supporting these views, especially from the National Assembly and majority of Nigerians? What do you think the president should do? about the service chiefs?
I believe the appointment of service chief is the prerogative of the president. The president knows why he is retaining them. And I can assure everybody that picking a service chief is not an easy thing to do. If we move from bad to worse, Nigeria will be worse for it. So changing service chief may solve the solution, but it will not totally guarantee solution. We are talking as if we want to appoint service chief, Boko Haram will disappear. Is that possible? If you just appoint one person, additional change the service chief, maybe a chief of army staff, we now think that because I understand the views of those who say the service chief must be changed. I think it's out of frustration. I believe they may be, we need a new, but what I'm saying is that the president, maybe he has looked at the spectrum of those who are eligible, and maybe he has not found people he can really say they are better than those who are there now.
But everybody believes that it is costing the country a lot, that the insurgency is not going down. It's almost killings in Zamfara, killings in Adamawa, killings in Borno, and it's like there's kind of a poverty of ideas with this present service chief. So don't you think the cost implication is more than the political consideration?
No, the issue is that whom are you going to get that may be better than them? That's the issue.
I'm asking you this because you are the first director of the National War College, and I'm sure you have trained some of the best army officers in your day, and you have also worked at the doctrinal command. So I think you should be in the best position to give Mr. President a better result-oriented advice on this, because Nigerians are really agitated.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that basically, if you look at what is happening today, as a trained military officer who is versed in terrorism and counter-insurgency operations, the approach to our counter-insurgency is very, very faulty. I've never seen where people fight guerrilla warfare in the air. I don't see how that's, The thing is that if you want to use air power to fight insurgency, they have to link up with the ground forces. They have to link up, because as soon as the air power softens the ground, then the ground forces will now move in. That is how it's done. But what I notice is that the Air Force will just take off, go and bomb one or two places and go back. Meanwhile, the insurgents are not killed because they are not in uniform. How do you know that you've killed some insurgency? Maybe those bombs are killing some of our civilians, Nigerians, So I've never seen where that is done. That's why I'm talking about. People tend to say, once you say service chief, the approach ought to be properly scrutinized and reviewed. We must do something. Counter-insurgency requires that we must have guerrilla formations who will penetrate Boko Haram hideouts and destroy them internally. That's how it's done. If you trade their lines, if you trade their command headquarters, using our smart girls and whatever you have, neutralize them from within. Find out the source of funding. Make sure you block it. And these are the things that must be done. Make sure you deny them comfort of whatever they are saying. The water in the area should be poisoned. Everything should be made uncomfortable for them. That is how you fight guerrillas. Not by going to buy expensive fighting aircraft and be dumping bombs on people. How? They are not uniformed. They are not dogging. How do you know where they are? So it beats me. Are we still the Nigerian army I used to know? So, and this is happening because I was the commander of training and doctrine command. And we know the doctrine we were propagating those days. how to fight guerrilla warfare, terrorist activities, you must square up and bumper to bumper with them. You don't fight them in the air. You must get in touch with them. You must identify them. Because they could be in civilian state, they can be somewhere in the club, they can be in the hotel, they may be somewhere wherever they are. You destroy them, assassinate them, make them uncomfortable. Because they don't wear uniform. For you to say, okay, you can spot them from the air, and then, no. So, most of these things, it baffles me. Why we are fighting an insurgency as if it's a conventional warfare. As if they are dogging, you can see their trenches and say, okay, this is their command headquarters, this is where they are dogging, this is where they are. So you go and bomb it. They're not dogging. They're very mobile. So we must change our doctrine. We must change our tactics. We must change our strategy. These are things that, to me, are far more important than talking of service chief. Why are we not practicing counter-terrorism the way it should be? Why? What is happening? Our War College, Defense College, and the rest of them, what are they teaching? Are they accepting what is happening? So I believe that there is need for change of doctrine and approach of our guerrilla warfare. Because unless we terrorize the terrorists, we must terrorize them. You must terrorize them. When you now go to drop bombs, how do you know those you've killed? From the air, you now say you've killed ABCD. It's impossible. You don't have ground forces that will say, okay, they saw that so and so were destroyed. The Air Force is simply wasting its time and resources.
Is this the reason why when sometimes it's good that the Air Force itself was dropping bomb and killing people wrongly? In fact, there was a time they even dropped bomb on IDP camps and killed a lot of people, and in most cases they drop bombs even on civilians in their villages or in the market square and all that. Is this the reason? And does it pain you when you hear this as a former commandant and a war strategist?
Honestly, it disturbs me. I feel very, very horrified. I feel very horrified because I know they've been killing civilians. They've been, and like I said, if it's a conventional warfare, the enemy will dig in for their defenses. They will dig trenches, you see their line of defense. So when you now go to strike or bomb, you know the line, how to bomb them. But these people are not dogging. They probably operate at night. During the day, they go back to the normal, maybe it's a shopkeeper, a mechanic. He does his normal work during the day. At night, they now get together and invade. So how do you know? How do you bomb? It's utter nonsense, absolutely senseless. So we must redefine our strategy. We are just wasting time. We must call our defenses to order. The Chief of Defense, Chief of Minister, they must re-strategize. They must have a way to infiltrate Boko Haram, like they call Sambisa Forest, for instance. I hear that is the main place Boko Haram is. Right now, nobody has invaded that place. This is the kind of place that we must make sure we invade and destroy every element that is there. Not by bombing, by physically overrunning the place. If you can physically overrun the place after 6 months, make sure that it's a sustained operation in which you capture the leaders of Boko Haram. If it's Israeli armed forces, by now you would have getting hold of the leaders of Boko Haram. Either by paratroopers or whatever, drop them inside and they just get hold of the leaders. This is the kind of thing we should be doing. Our airborne forces, what are they doing? So I don't know. I feel very embarrassed that the army we used to have is no more the army we have today. People are just gambling, are just looking completely confused. And Boko Haram is taking the initiative because they've seen that we are very confused. When they attack, they just come and collect all our arms. When they run short of arms, they attack a particular army, make sure they collect all the arms and vehicles and everything. just to make sure they equip themselves for the next operation. Is that the kind of army we should have? Meanwhile, once they deny us of we say we don't have any weapon again because we've allowed them to come and take all we had. So this is what is going on. And we cannot continue this way. I need to re-strategize and take the initiative. And I said in my book, one of my books, that we must involve the natives. The natives must defend themselves. The natives should be the vanguard of our defense and offensive. The natives, because they are the people who know themselves and should be able to defend themselves. So that if your cousin is in Boko Haram, let him come and kill you. You know? So unless we involve the natives and make sure that they are in the vanguard of this campaign, and that's why I suggested in the book that we should have a brigade that must be from people from Borno who will now be the vanguard of our main operations, who will now intermingle with Boko Haram. The operation will not be to go and start conventional warfare with them. We'll just send them out. They go and intermingle with Boko Haram, give us information. And based on that information, we'll now plan how to destroy Boko Haram from within. You know, because we must infiltrate them and have our contacts within the Boko Haram who will be giving us information. So that by the time we strike, we totally destroy their main leaders. You know? So unless we do things like that, if we depend on conventional warfare or buying tanks and doing all this conventional thing, then this war will never end.
Last year, how did you feel when the Chief of Army Staff, General Tukur Buratai, came to Abuja and organized a conference begging the world for spiritual intervention? He said there was a need for spiritual help to fight Boko Haram, that Boko Haram is not a war that can be fought on a physical application, that there must be spiritual intervention and all that. And a lot of us in the Southwest were thinking maybe he's talking about Juju or spiritual whatever. And that because when you say you've killed a commander and the next day the man keeps talking in a video and you say you kill him again and the Shekau keeps appear, you have killed Shekau like 200 times and the Shekau keeps doing new videos. So do you think the Chief of Army Staff Buratai was really true that they need spiritual help to fight Boko Haram, sir, instead of conventional warfare?
I don't think he said that, because if he did, then I don't know what kind of army we're having. I don't see.
It was in the paper, sir.
How a regular trained. I trained in Indian Defense Academy, and I know the training we had as cadets were very thorough. And subsequent military training I had, I've never heard of people using spiritual powers to defeat enemy. You know, I've never heard of that. You know, so this is not a tea party. War is something that's lethal and fatal. You know, it's either you kill or you be killed. So if you go there and talking of spiritual fortification, I don't know how that will stop the bullet from hitting you. You know, so I don't know, but I don't think if he made such a comment, then I'll be very, very disappointed.
It was a seminar, sir.
So it's probably what he was talking of was motivation. Maybe motivate the troops in a way that they won't be cowards and run away, you know, and give them that spiritual motivation that, you know, that may help them. Because Boko Haram, you know, is a warfare that is based on a particular doctrine, you know, and because it's a doctrine-filled operation, you find that they are fanatical, you know. So they don't regard life as anything. They just believe, you know, what they are doing is for the sake of Almighty God. They are extending the frontiers of spirituality on earth for God. So when they die, they go to heaven. So probably in that context, maybe the Chief of Army Staff may be thinking of brainwashing our soldiers so that they can get fanatical and don't believe in life on earth. You must, if you die, you should be happy you're giving your life to your country, and that kind of thing. But that is not acceptable in normal military operation. Normally you don't have to brainwash your troops. It's not. What you do is fortify your soldiers with normal tactics and doctrines. How do you interlink? Right now, I hear that the Air Force and Army are not on talking terms. The service chiefs, they have their own petty rivalry. How can a service chief be doing something not in consonance with what the Army is doing? Because the Air Force is supposed to support the Army in a ground operation. Air Force never takes the initiative on their own. It's the Army that will say, go and bomb because we are moving in. So that when we go, we suffer less casualties. Once you've destroyed a part of them in the air, then we'll now move in. Confuse them so that once we move, we just mop up the place and, that is how it's done. But now, Air Force will just on its own go on a solo bombardment and come and say the Boko Haram is destroyed. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I don't think we must get more serious because Nigeria is dying slowly but steadily. And we must do something to make sure it doesn't, Nigeria does not collapse and give up.
I want to take you back to the issue of border closure. The president came with the initiative of closing the border, most of the border, both in the southern parts and some part of the north last year. And he said, since the border was closed, there have been reduction in light ammunition and even mass brigandage and hardmen invasion of lands and interiors of our country. So, do you think closing of the border is a good economic and military strategy to stop insurgency warfare in Nigeria?
I believe the closure of the border is one of the best things this administration has done.
How do you mean, sir?
It is
because the business people are crying. The rice importers, the car importers, and the okrika importers are all crying, sir.
We cannot live on importation. We must realize that. As long as we are importing, our local industries will continue to suffer. Our unemployment rate will continue to go higher because the factories are closing down. You cannot compete with things that you buy from outside because those things are far cheaper than what you're going to produce because where they're producing them, their infrastructure is virtually cheap, free. But here you have to provide your own electricity, dig your own borehole, have your own road network, have security. Overhead is far more here than over there. And therefore, our production cost is far higher. And therefore, we cannot compete. So what China did and what America did, America in the 18th century had to close all its border. America is not what it is in 2 centuries ago. There was a time they closed down their borders and started growing from within. Japan did the same thing. China did the same thing. India did the same thing. So any country that wants to develop, first and foremost, closes its border, maybe for 10 years, 15 years, or 4 years, or whatever, and allow the local industry to gestate and be strong enough to withstand competition. Then after that, you open your border because you're not ready to compete. So I see the closure of border as the best thing this administration has done. And they did it by mistake. And I went and persuaded the president because they couldn't cope with checking the smugglers. And the revenue of custom was going down. So I went and advised Buhari that close the border so that they can be passing through the port so that we can get more revenue. So it was just that suggestion. But from it now, we found that now our local rice production has gone up. Our poultry farmers are now producing more chicken. You can't believe that we buy chicken from outside. They import chicken. Now, most of unemployed, now if you go and set up a poultry farm, you are sure to have a market because we are no longer importing chicken. So People should learn to do without okrika. Learn to do without anything. Manage what you can get from within. And that is the spirit. And that's why I said this administration should have what I call reorientation organization of Nigeria.
Reorientation.
Reorientation organization, RON, R-O-N. Reorientation organization of Nigeria that will now educate and enlighten Nigerians in Nigerian languages on issues about national, building up the Nigerian nation. What sacrifices must we make? There are certain things we must do, deny ourselves. If you go to a place like Ghana or Rwanda, nobody talks of wearing a suit from wherever. They now wear the normal kente, Ghanaian kente, Whatever they produce, they wear. We must get to that level. Because unless we wear what we produce, our factories cannot survive. If I produce something and nobody comes to buy from me, will I continue to produce? I'll give up. So we cannot be calling of improving on unemployment, and meanwhile we're importing. If you want to solve the unemployment problem, close your border and build up internally. Basic things like chalk, your candle, your toothpick, your pants and handkerchief and ruler and pencil, these are basic things we should produce. Not to talk of food. Question of importing food should not be there. Today we import fish. We import virtually everything. Everything is imported. We cannot continue that way. If it's a country of 10 million people, we can import to satisfy them, but 200 million people. Before you can satisfy them through importation, you must be killing yourself. So this is why you find that Nigeria is not developing, because you get the oil money, which is to go and buy things, import, and chop. You get the money, that's what the governors are doing, that's what everybody is doing. But if we close the border, it will occur to them to make sure they set up industry to produce this basic thing. Paper, chalk, and all those things. We start with basic things. We can start producing them. They may be crude initially, but with time, because you're patronizing them, they keep on improving. All your ointment, your perfume, and things like that, we can start producing them. We don't have to be as good as the one in Paris, but they will improve with time. So this is what we must do. In the 60s, when I was a cadet in India, Indians don't buy anything from outside, because it was a policy of the government. I remember at that time, their prime minister, Indira Gandhi, the daughter of Nehru, she schooled in London. So when the father died, they persuaded her to come back to India and become prime minister. So she had this Western idea. She came, the first thing she did was to buy a Mercedes-Benz car. And the first day she put it on the road, the Indians used egg, orange, and stoned her that she went and returned that Mercedes and started driving Indian ambassador. This is our ambassador car, the car they call ambassador. And in India, if you want a car, those days, you book now. If you want a car in 6 years' time,
yes, sir,
before it gets to your turn, you have to pay years ahead. But they bought it. When in India then, you see a colonel brigadier, all they had was a scooter. That's what they were using. Because cars, you book for it, it takes time to come. Because they decided that whatever, in Nehru made them to understand that whatever is produced, you can only use what is produced in India. So we need to have that kind of philosophy. If we want to really Nigeria to grow, we must have that philosophy. The luxuries are for developed countries. But Nigeria here, we aspire to luxuries, and it's wasteful. There's no way we can eat our cake and have it. If you use all the foreign exchange you get from oil and spend in the luxury item, that's the end. And now when the oil ceases to sell, you're in trouble. But if you use that oil money to develop your factory, so when that oil thing ceases, your factory is still running. So you are now self-sustaining. Isn't that better?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.